Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. This time I got a pretty cool one for you guys. It's going to be featuring the green Pilaf Wish leader who turns into the Tiny Warrior Son Goku. So this is a leader that I thought had some great potential because of some of the main deck cards it can play. So I really wanted to get to work with it, and I really didn't like the main deck that was kind of meant for this deck. I don't think the wishes that go particularly with this leader are very good at all. So I pretty much decided to make the best deck for it that I could. So I'll talk about that. Right before I do get into that though, if you guys are new to the channel, hitting that subscribe button, giving this video a like, that would be super awesome of you guys. And if you guys are already fans of the channel, you guys can help me out a lot with my Patreon, which is going to be down in the description below. Just $1 measly a month can help me bring you guys the content that you love. So quick plug out of the way, we'll get into this deck profile. So green Pilaf leader, what he does is, some of you guys might not know what he does because he's not super duper seen all the time. Auto once per turn, when one of your battle cards attacks, which is actually really important to note, that battle card will gain 5,000 power. Then you can look through your life or your deck for a Dragon Ball. So a single Dragon Ball, it's really important to note. So that's why we're going to have certain card choices in the deck. When you have 7 Dragon Balls in your drop area, you can flip your leader over and grab a desire from your drop area to your hand, and you can become the Tiny Warrior Son Goku. So you have 3 options with his awakened ability. You can choose to draw a card. You can activate a green or black, and only a green or black. You actually cannot splash different desire cards in this deck, which is pretty unfortunate. But you can choose a green or black desire card in your hand. You can activate it without paying its energy cost if you have the appropriate energy to do so. And you have his Mega Wish, which we're never ever really gonna do. So, but you can remove 7 Dragon Balls from the drop area, and you can pop one of your opponent's cards on their board and rip a card from their hand, and then your leader gains 15k power. It's very low impact wish ability, so we don't ever really use it. But there are a lot of reasons to play this deck. One in particular, my favorite, the SS4 Son Goku, which we'll get into at the end of the deck profile. So we have 7 Dragon Balls, just your typical, you need them to awaken. I tried out the 1-star ball, but it got a little bit weird with the curve sometimes, especially when you're trying to hit your early turn plays. So I opted to just play the 7, and in this deck, I found myself playing defense quite a bit because you don't want the game to progress too fast. You need to get to turn 5, sometimes even turn 6 to really get your game plan rolling. So a really good mid-range deck for that reason. You want to get to those mid-turns, you just drop absolute bomb cards. 2 Dragon Radar. 3 is a bit cloggy. You definitely can't play 4. 1, I didn't see it enough. 2's been a great number. It's literally just +1 in any wish deck. You just pick up 2 Dragon Balls to drop area, you draw 2 cards. You can get desires later on if you need them, but we do play a card in the deck to help with that. So you're typically going to be grabbing Dragon Balls with this card's effect. If you really need to in dire situations, you can scry 7. I've done that for certain desire cards in the past, but you realistically don't want to do that because it's much less consistent than getting the ones that are already in your drop area. 4 Dragon Ball Secret Bulma. This card, you kind of really need it in non-Shenron and non-Gohan decks that just need to get there faster. So shout out to Peter Katani. He did a deck profile for the yellow Wish leader, the Sorbet Frieza leader. We played a few pickup games at Nats, and I gave him my copy of the Shenron yellow Wish deck, and he played it. He saw the Bulma in it. He questioned it. He thought it was weird. I told him you just need it. You need it because your leader awakens too slowly without it. Because it's an activate main dump a Dragon Ball, as many turns as this thing survives, you just get additional Dragon Balls to drop area, so you get to flip over that much faster. This thing, having this on board from turn 1 will pretty much guarantee you flip over by turn 3. So turn 3 like the slowest. Turn 2 is really helpful sometimes, but this card just gets you there. So turn 1, if you go first, you want to drop this, you want to dump a Dragon Ball. Even if I drop this going first, going second rather, I won't typically attack with it just to get the extra Dragon Ball because it's not worth putting her at risk of getting killed. We play a couple 2 drops that help us get flipped over faster as well, so we'll get into that once we get to that part of the curve. 3 Child's Wish, 3 World Peace. You need to play them because, you know, this is basically a Child's Wish World Peace strategy. You have big things you want to bring back, you have little things you want to bring back. We're not playing any of the Tiny Warrior archetype wishes. They're just, in my opinion, they're really not that great. So you have great targets for these cards. And then we have the 2 Shenron Figure of Majesty. This is just one of the best sparking cards you can play in a deck like this. You know, it just sets up a lot of big plays for you, allows you to get energy manipulation in green, which is pretty uncommon, and you can bring back a lot of good 2 drops, and you can go for big crit damage with your big double strikers, so really good. Then we have the 1 Beyond Darkness Semigra. Most Wish decks should probably be playing this card because the inherent mechanic of your deck literally sets this up perfectly. So big win con, especially, and this is a bit more of a hand control-y build. This card just fits in like peanut butter and chocolate. So then we have the 4 Shocking Death Ball. This card is so good. You negate attack, you can break even on the exchange because you're not going to neg a card if you use the sparking ability and you pop a card. So in some instances, this card can +1 you, which is insane. Helps out a lot in the store matchup, so it's really, really good for that reason. Then we have the Spirited Search Super Saiyan Trunks. So this card, it's really good in generic wish decks. If you guys check out my blue yellow wish deck, this card's in there because you want to Child's Wish it even though it's off color, because it recurs you with your desires constantly, which is incredibly good. It just allows you to keep playing, keep grinding. You can keep getting back Child's Wishes and keep casting them whenever you need to. But in this deck, it's also really good because you can actually hard cast this guy, and that's really helpful in the early stages of the game, because when you're at 5 or more life, you can take 2 Dragon Balls from your deck, dump them to the drop area. So it kind of stinks that between the Trunks and the Bulma, you're not getting those Dragon Balls to hand, so you can't necessarily, you know, draw the cards off of them. It's kind of unfortunate, but you don't really care about that too much because it's so important to just get them to the drop area, especially in a deck that isn't Shenron, that doesn't grab Dragon Balls as quickly. It's just really, really important. And he's a 15k beater at a 2-drop, nothing to really laugh at. Big pressure. 4 defensive stance Super Saiyan Vegeta, your sparking super combo. It just fits perfectly in the deck. You fill your drop area pretty quickly with the Bulmas and the Trunkses, and you only have 1 overrun play in the deck. So most 99% of the time, this is going to be your live super combo. It's going to be live really early to help stave off early pressure. Then we have 4 Nail the Namekian Ace. This card is our other 2-drop in the deck that you want to really be casting turn 2. So the ideal curve is 1 drop, you drop your Dragon Ball Secret Bulma, you dump a Dragon Ball. Turn 2, you drop a Nail next to that, and because you do have another battle card in play, your bond is active. So your Nail will swing, your leader will trigger to give it an extra 5k, search a Dragon Ball, and then your Nail will trigger to draw a card and get another 5k. So it's 20k swinger, so it's actually really good at swinging at battle cards on board, like if your opponent has like a Deadly Defender out or anything like that. Really, really good. It gets an extra buff and it draws you 2 essentially with your leader effect. So really solid turn 2 play. Now we get into basically the meat of the deck. So most of that beforehand were starter cards in terms of the green cards. Now we get into the meat of the deck. So we're playing the Broly, a small Broly package. And the reason I wanted to do that is for a few reasons. 1, you can wombo combo pretty crazily with Broly and Wishes. And 2, we have a really, really good board wiping card in this deck. So I wanted to complement that with some more control, with some more hand control. So 4 Endless Evolution Broly complemented with 3 Broly Rampaging Horror. So this card, Endless Evolution, pretty solid. It comes into play, your opponent has to choose one of their cards to get rid of, and unless they're just spamming the board with 1-drops, this is really good because your opponent will probably have something pretty impactful they have to get rid of. Really wish it's got around barrier, but that's not the case, unfortunately. And then you have the Broly, the Rampaging Horror, skipping ahead a little bit. The evolve cost becomes 3 when you have it over the Endless Evolution Broly, so it's an incredibly cheap 30k double strike that rips 2 out of your opponent's hand. You can drop this as early as turn 3, which is pretty insane. If your leader is able to flip over by turn 3, you can free cast a Child's Wish, bring the Endless Evolution Broly back, make your opponent lose a battle card, and then you can pay 3 to evolve the Broly on top of that. So that 6-drop 30k double strike by turn 3 is pretty huge pressure. It's going to be pretty hard for your opponents to remove that off the board unless they have an overrun play. So for the most part, this guy's going to stick around. He's going to be a constant 30k double striker swinging at your opponent's leader. Any Deadly Defenders they might set up, any Vegetos they might set up. Really solid. Then we have only 2 Super 17 the Infernal Machine. This card's really good, but it can also be pretty taxing on your own hand. This deck doesn't inherently plus a bajillion like Shenron does, so you need to be careful with your usage of this card, but it's just so good that I had to include it in the deck. It can either follow up your turn 3 6-drop Broly play, or it can precede your 6-drop Broly play to ditch 2, so it's just even more hand control. The issue is that it just requires you to ditch 2 from your hand, but if you have 1 or 2 of the Spirited Search Trunkses online, kind of like Dashi taught me in the interview video we did last week, you can ditch Desires and get them back with the SS Trunks. If you have a Shenron online, you can ditch something and revive it with Shenron. So you have ways to recur things in this deck, so it's not the end of the world to be ditching your hand. And the fact that it can't be negated is also incredibly good at going for game. So really solid sometimes when you need that guaranteed go for game shot. And then the final 3 cards in the deck, the entire reason that you would pick this leader to play over any other leader, I really like when they do this with cards. They give certain cards niche cards, like you can only play this with this leader, and you have like Revenge Death Ball for baby decks, and you have like Deathless Warrior Broly for Broly leader decks. This card is super good. The Twin Onslaught SS4 Son Goku. So let's read what it does. 5-drop, 3 green, 25k, 10k combo. Double strike, deflect. So deflect, incredibly good. Double strike, big pressure. Auto, burst 5. Pretty bad keyword, honestly. Burst 5 is pretty bad, but in this deck it's completely worth it. You must place the top 5 cards you deck in the drop area to activate the skill. When you play this card, If your leader card is a green Shenron, check, our leader is that. Choose all of your opponent's battle cards and KO them. So immediate board wipe on anything that's not barrier, which has been so good with me playing this deck. If there are still battle cards remaining in your opponent's battle area, choose all of them ignoring barrier and negate their skills for the duration of the turn, and this card gains dual attack for the duration of the turn. So you got a couple things there. You remove barrier from anything that has barrier, and you remove skills from anything that has barrier. So this has been really big for me in dealing with Vegetos. So this will come out onto the board, wipe the board of anything without barrier. So that's like any one-drop weenies they've set up, any like attacker threats they've set up that don't have barrier. Really solid. And then if they have the Vegeto or the Deadly Defender, I remove barrier so I can actually blow it up with something like an Endless Evolution Broly, something like that. Or I can just swing around it. Its skills are negated, so I can just swing around it. The Deadly Defender does not protect our life anymore, which has just been super good playing this deck. So this is the reason to play this entire deck. If you're gonna, choose to play a green hand control wish strategy, this card gives you all the board control that you need, and it just lets you go for game really easy. And then that burst 5 to give dual attack on top of the double strike, really pressuring. So guys, that's gonna be the deck profile. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like this deck, once again, do give us a like. That would be super awesome. And I've got some shout outs for the people that helped bring you this video today from the Patreon. Thank you so much to Anthony, Chris, and Ryan, our newest Patreons to the Crossroads TCG channel. Thank you guys so much. With that being said, my name's Joey. This is Crossroads TCG, and I'll see you next time.